Jeffrey Epstein's evil does not require exaggeration. He is one of the most malevolent architects of modern trafficking systems, and yet the full extent of his infrastructure remains largely untouched. A convicted sex offender, a broker of children for the elite, experimenter of bioengineering humans, time travel, cloning, breeding farms, and beneath the mainstream story, a handler of information and leverage to some of the most elite people in the world. Rumors that he practiced ritual magic or worshipped Baal reflect not fantasy, but the structured, ceremonial nature of his abuse. His environments, Little St. James, the Manhattan Mansion, the New Mexico Ranch, were not chaotic playgrounds of impulse, but meticulously arranged operating theaters of control. Rooms within rooms, concealed cameras, files, routines. Victims were stripped of personhood, drugged, trained, and reshaped into assets. That is not symbolic evil. It is systemic.
Okay, tier one, you're the lowest, but a criminal.
Yes.
That the money came from them. What percentage of people do you estimate? I understand you don't like probabilities. Do you estimate would say, I don't care, I want the money for my children?
I would say everyone said, I want the money for my children.
Did they know where the money came from?
I think if you told them, if I told them the devil,
100%.
the devil
himself.
The devil himself said, I'm going to exchange some dollars for your child's life.
Do you think you're the devil himself?
No, but I do have a good mirror.
It's a serious question. Do you think you're the devil himself?
I don't know. Why would you say that?
Because you have all the attributes. You're incredibly smart. You remember, the devil is somebody knows
what?
The devil's brilliant.
Tennessee was more than a quiet hideout for Epstein. It was a key artery. Its back roads, disconnected counties, and hands-off enforcement made it a dream for trafficking logistics, in my opinion.
The Upper East is at severe risk, given just those super high rates of vulnerable populations in those communities.
A study out this week found 3 Northeast Tennessee counties, Sullivan, Hawkins, and Greene, have a vulnerable population index score above 70%. Researchers say that's because traffickers seek out people who face an additional vulnerability like housing or food insecurity.
They're trying to meet a need with a promise, and then they use force, fraud, and coercion to maintain control of that individual and force them into labor or sexual exploitation.
Northeast Tennessee has other risk factors aside from socioeconomic vulnerabilities.
There is a prevalence of sexual assault, domestic violence, drug offenses, and related crimes in the Upper East region of the state. And these are crimes that are highly correlated with the presence of trafficking.
A new batch of documents in the Jeffrey Epstein case include tech titans, Wall Street power brokers, and foreign dignitaries. And among them, a connection to one woman here in Middle Tennessee. Dozens of emails show Epstein traveling here and paying tens of thousands of dollars to support her.
Well, the emails show Jeffrey Epstein talking about flights to and from Nashville and paying more than $50,000 to cover a woman's rent, furniture, and other personal expenses. Here's one email which shows a reimbursement list from 2014 to 2015. From moving expenses to vitamins, even ski trips, it totaled more than $51,000. Other emails show Epstein booking flights to and from Nashville. There were also intimate emails. One apparently sent by a woman to Epstein says, still in Nashville, right where you left me.
From Knoxville to the Smokies, Appalachia formed a natural corridor. And right in that corridor, William Riley operated with the kind of local invisibility that only a man protected by higher systems could enjoy. Adoption files, foster placements, rural vanishings. He worked within them, not outside of them. But the real connection begins not with a scandal, but with a signature on an adoption order in Greenville, Tennessee. The same legal system that would later oversee the disappearance of 5-year-old Summer Wells once facilitated the transfer of a trafficking victim into the custody of William Kyle Riley, a very close person to Epstein. That victim would later become known as Sasha Riley. According to their testimony, the adoption was never about protection. It was about procurement. Sasha describes being trafficked almost immediately within the family and then into broader networks connected to powerful men, among them Jeffrey Epstein. Recent document leaks reveal something far more damning: Epstein's deep operational ties to William Kyle Riley. On paper, Riley ran a small-time private investigation shell company, but obviously investigating victims under Epstein's request. According to Sasha, he was no investigator. He was an enforcer, a fighter, a man who could make people disappear. Not with brute force, but by psychological decimation, manipulation, and intimidation. He isolated, conditioned, and sold his adopted child into the same networks Epstein managed. The files now confirm that Epstein paid for Riley's legal defense on multiple occasions and even financed a storage facility tied to Riley's activities. Jeffrey also paid several invoices to William for unknown reasons.
Sasha says, "Here's my adoption papers. My POS adoptive father's name is William Riley, lives in Ranger, Georgia. One of the PORNOs they made me do is called Betty Davis Eyes. It's online. My old army buddies used to give me a hard time about it." Oh my god, you guys. This person's reposting them saying, "These are my adoption papers," and then Sasha says, "I have no idea what's next. I just want William Riley exposed because he'll sing like Pavarotti, and he can provide the rest of the puzzle pieces. If not, I gave them enough to get him and Trump." Irene divorced my adoptive father around 1980 and then married my POS stepmother, Mary Lynn Riley, who unalived herself a few years ago when I started talking about the abuse online. At least 63 different instances of the name Riley within the Epstein files, and many of them are referring to a man named Bill, aka William Riley. Wouldn't you know? This is the first instance in which Bill O'Reilly appears, where he is going around to victims of JE and saying that he is an investigator from Miami working on behalf of Epstein, and he's trying to find out what they know. The victim doesn't want to talk to them, and he continues to press and saying, "We're not the cops, we're the good guys. We just want to ask you some questions. We just want to find out how much you know and how much you've said." Then we have another instance in the interview of Virginia Giuffre. When they ask who contacted her, she says, "I want to say Bill Riley." And here where she goes on to say she's pretty sure that it was Bill Riley who contacted her to let her know that if she remained quiet, she would be looked after. So right here in black and white in the Epstein files, we have a Bill Riley who is contacting the victims of Jeffrey Epstein on his behalf, who is doing work for him as a fixer who is trying to buy these girls' silence. Those are just the first few instances that the name Riley appears in the DOJ's Epstein files that they have released, which again is just 1% of all the files they've got.
These are not distant transactions. These are cover-ups between collaborators. The Summer Wells case, while tragic and murky, only touches the rim of this machinery. Her father's rumors of trafficking are often dismissed, but when viewed in light of the Riley-Epstein connection, even wild claims beg re-examination. Because we now know this network was real. We have financials, we have structures, we have names. The truth isn't in the whispers, it's in the patterns. And the pattern says Tennessee was not just a backdrop, it was a stage. Riley was not just a father, he was a gatekeeper. And Epstein did not act alone, he acted through men like him.
Bill Riley, or William Riley. This is when he receives the Master Pilot Award. You can see here this was labeled in November of 2020. The Wright Brothers Master Pilot Award honors pilots who have at least 50 years of safe flying. He did 20 years of military service. And you can confirm this is him. This is him right here. This is his wife at the time. This is a Facebook post of his, William Kyle Riley, same guy. That's the same woman. That's his wife. This is Sasha posting about him. I don't know who needs to hear this, but he lives in Ranger, Georgia. This is him. Here's the aircraft owner-operator information. So story on this guy, he is a Vietnam veteran-era pilot, and something that stuck out to me was in Sasha Riley's testimony, or in one of the transcripts they said, and he could fly a lot of craft. He could fly big craft, small craft, helicopters, airplanes.
The Sabbats were real events, part of a ritualized religion in which sexual perversions were acted out. So he was aware that this was happening. That is why you need to wake up and recognize that this is what is happening in our world. And what he's referring to are ancient pagan festivals and ceremonies that center around the earth's cycles of death and rebirth. And so to make this extra clear to you, we are not in a war between monotheistic faiths. The people that we are fighting are effectively pagan gypsies who have been wearing the cloak of Judaism, I would say, since the fall of the missing Khazarian Empire. Okay, he was a part, like I said, of the Freemason group B'nai B'rith, which had, if you don't know what B'nai B'rith is, you got to wake up, especially if you're in America, okay? That lodge, it's Jewish supremacists. They had everything to do with the Civil War in America. They excel at creating the false dialectic, the North versus the South, the left versus the right. Ulysses S. Grant notoriously expelled Jews from his military district, Tennessee, Mississippi, Kentucky. You think he was just like what, another white supremacist? Everyone's just a white supremacist. I mean, another. Well, they would have called him a white supremacist, or he was anti-Semitic. Everybody's just anti-Semitic. No, it had everything to do with what they were cooking up at these lodges, B'nai B'rith. That then subsequently became the ADL after the ritualistic murder of a Catholic girl named Mary Fagan.
Fam, keep decoding the symbols, trust your inner vision, and never fall for the invisible deceptions they weave into the fabric of our minds.
They're gonna be sorry they were ever born.
Who?
All of them.
Swing low like a gold-plated crucifix. Holy heart, hang Christ on a Cuban link. Do it my way, do it my way. Blood in my veins, the Messiah is alive. You can hear her in my swing low like a gold-plated crucifix. Holy heart, hang Christ on a Cuban link. Do it my way, do it my way. Blood in my veins, the Messiah is alive. You can hear her in my.
I've been carving with this marble stone like Michelangelo since I was like 10 years old, and I was almost at the end of my wits when I saw my truth unfold. I was 25 years old, had that quarter century glow. Safe and sound, box in the hound. What you gonna say to me now? Ace with the crown, I'll straight to the ground, cause I miss my life, aiming straight for the crown. The higher the climb is the greater the fall. Stiffer the drink is the deeper you sleep, and the more you put in is the more you withdraw, and the more things blur is a clearer I dream. Rely on me like the words of a saint, and nothing kill quicker than the burden of hate. The circle of time is the curve of your faith. It's pretty abstract, but I fuck with the shape. Loch Ness monster horns in a cave, flames of fury in the devil's face. And once you've conquered all that credulous race, the world ends cause you were 4 minutes late. You're safe and sound, fox in the hell. What you gonna say to me now? Ace with the crown, I'll straight to the ground, cause I miss my life, aiming straight for the crown.
There's a formula to it. A very simple formula. Everybody's a suspect.